Hello, everybody. Welcome back to How You Guys. Hope you are very well. Scott Davis here, joined as ever by Linda Marric.
Hello, how are you?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Good.
Good.
Nice
Hope everyone's having a good weekend, despite
Yeah.
what's going on in the world. But we are here with our review of The Batman. It's finally time to delve into Matt Reeves' new reinterpretation, shall we say, of The Batman lore, starring Robert Pattinson as Bruce Wayne and Batman, is in cinemas this Friday, March the 4th, in the US and in the UK. And we have been very excited for this for a little while. It's been delayed a couple of times because of the pandemic, but finally it's here, and it looks like it's going to do quite well when it comes out.
Well, let's hope so.
We've spoken about this a couple of times before, Linda, and then you hadn't seen it as I'd seen it, like you saw it after me and kind of like that. So maybe I'll come to you first. So do we need another Batman? And if so, is this the one that is kind of a worthy new addition, shall we say?
When it comes to adaptations, I am always in the camp of I'm always for new adaptations of things. I think we have thousands of different Hamlets, different Macbeths, different sort of Pride and Prejudices, and I don't see why a sort of a story based on a comic book shouldn't be in the same kind of, I think if someone has a different vision and they want to make something they haven't seen before, why not? I'm all for it, as long as they do it properly and sort of as long as it doesn't look exactly like something has been made before, then I see absolutely no problem with reproducing a new thing. I have no problem with that. I am for readaptations.
Yes, well, you talk about Macbeth. We've just had another Macbeth, haven't we, at Christmas?
Yeah,
another Macbeth. So why can't we? And also, people always say, "Do we need another Batman film?" Well, we get so many different versions of the Batman comics, and we have since Batman began. That I think it's always good. It's always up for reinterpretation, and you can go from the Tim Burton ones to the Joel Schumacher ones, Christopher Nolan, the Ben Affleck / the Zack Snyder one, and now we come to the Matt Reeves one. So. Is it any good is what we're going to say. Is it any good? I am going to start by saying
go ahead.
It's very, very good. Very, very good. However, we'll come to this while we talk about it. Obviously, the small caveat is I didn't think this was it's hard to say the best Batman because they're all so different in so many different ways.
I think the Nolan probably is.
Does this hit the heights of The Dark Knight, which is for many people considered the epitome? A lot of people obviously are huge fans of Batman Begins as well because it being the origin story and a lot of things in there. But does it hit the heights of The Dark Knight? Not quite, but it does come quite close. That would be my opening salvo. I had a few issues with it, but on the whole, I thought it was very, very good and a very, very cool new interpretation of the character.
I agree.
It slots into a part of his, if you take, Bruce Wayne becoming Batman and then up to however long he goes on for into when he's Ben Affleck, he's supposed to be old and withered and kind of worn down and people have died around him and all that kind of stuff. This is set kind of year 2-ish, the second year that he's becoming Batman. And it has a new look, new feel. It's much grittier. It has a much more of a kind of Seven, Zodiac killer vibe, as you probably heard in some of the preamble. It's very, very different. So what did you think, Linda?
I really liked it, and I think it has lots of influences from, I'd say, 70s, like Chinatown, and it's very investigative. So it's all the President's Man. It's also the way it looks is. I really love the way it looked. It's almost like an art movie in the way it looks, the way it's shot, and sometimes where things are represented. It's almost like I don't know if you've ever seen La Jetée, which is I really liked it. I think Matt Reeves, it's the film that inspired 12 Monkeys, which is a fantastic French art movie by Chris Marker. I really, really liked it. I like you, I have got a few issues with it. I think my primary issue with it is that it's too long. I think genuinely it could have been easily 2.5 hours long. It's 3 hours long. It's 3 hours long, but there are films that are 3 hours long and they need to be 3 hours long. This did not need to be 3 hours long. I thought it went on. The last chapter went on forever. But having said that, I really loved the way it looked. Very grungy. I know loads of people would go, "Oh, it's emo," and Pattinson himself looks very emo with his sort of swept hair front, sort of very sort of Y2K emo look. But for me, it was more grungy. Even the sound was very sort of Nirvana-ish, very, like early 90s. And obviously that's Matt Reeves' influences musically. And I'm sure he's spoken about that before. Honestly, I thought thematically and the way it looked absolutely gorgeous, and the performances out of this world. Poor Dano is just extraordinary as the Riddler.
Yeah, this isn't Jim Carrey in spandex, kids. This isn't Jim Carrey in spandex, this Riddler.
I thought the performances are like properly like Oscar-worthy performances, and this isn't this. We're not in the Zack Snyder territory here. We're not in the sort of like, let's blow things up and sort of be very self, aggrandizing. This is proper. These are proper roles written for proper actors, and the performances are incredible. Like John Turturro, for me, I am a big fan of John Turturro, and he's incredible in this. Who else did I love? I loved Zoe Kravitz, obviously. Colin Farrell, you wouldn't recognize him, so I'm not even going to say anything. If you don't know who he's playing, please sort of go there blind, because it's best to not know until you've seen him. I think it's a film lover's film, and I think Matt Reeves really loves cinema. He loves to play with those kind of sort of nuances and sort of colors and moods, and he knows exactly what he's doing. And I really loved it. I really loved it in that way. Like, as I say, the only problem I had with it is a bit too long. I thought it was a little bit too long.
Yeah, I would agree with the length. I don't think it needs to be 3 hours long. In fact, I thought that it could have quite easily been 2 films in some ways, as in not necessarily just split in half, but I think some of the ideas in it could have quite easily made 2 films, if you know what I mean. Didn't need to be that long, as you say. I think the final act, where it becomes slightly more blockbustery, as these films tend to be, not in a bad way, in a good way, but it does just go on a little bit too long, that last act, I thought.
Oh, too much, yeah.
Especially as the first 2 acts of the film are so well done. They're so like, you're so like in the world. So you're so tight, it's so tight, and it's so thrilling, but also you're trying to solve this mystery with Batman. This is like detective stuff we haven't seen Batman do before.
Yeah.
We've seen bits and bobs in the Nolan movies and the Tim Burton movies and other bits and bobs around there, but we've never seen him do it for a whole film. This is him doing his detective stuff for the whole film with Jim Gordon, with then Catwoman comes into it, and everyone else comes into it to try and solve what is quite a cryptic puzzle. And you'll see when it's quite they talk about the 70s.
It's a riddle.
Yeah, it's a riddle. 70s movies, but they're like Seven and Zodiac, where they're trying to figure out who the person is and why can't they find him, and then he's leaving all these ciphers. It's really interesting the way it's done it, but then it reflects really well on modern day as well about celebrity. There's not to give stuff away, but there is a lot of stuff that people do in modern day that is part of the movie, but it doesn't feel like it's modern day. It feels like it's in the 70s and the 80s, which is really cool. The kind of juxtaposition between classic cinema versus new cinema, and new things versus old things. I thought that was really cool, and I love the fact that this is similar to The Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises, where Nolan very much wanted to, when he did a sequel, he didn't just make a sequel, he changed genres essentially. So they made a crime movie and the second one, so it was more like Heat. The third one's a big disaster movie where there's bombs, all this kind of.
Absolutely, I agree.
Matt Reeves does that with this. Essentially, if you strip away the Batman and the Riddler and the character names and the guy in the suit, it could just be a really cool detective story.
I
love to go and see, and you could see them in their, their long jackets and their hats and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? Just instead of it being a Batman costume. So I really, really love that aspect. But yes, I did think it was too long, and there was a few things in the third act that could have been tighter. Having said that, for a lot of it, I was completely enthralled by what was going on. And as you said about the performances, it's just, I have to say, if you again, I wish I'd said this to him when I interviewed him. You can watch this on HeyUGuys, lots of interviews with the cast and Matt Reeves, and I'll tell you more about that at the end. But to Robert Pattinson saying to him, if you'd have told me 15 years ago that the guy from Twilight was going to be Batman, and also the girl from Twilight was possibly going to win an Oscar, you'd be like, what? The Batman thing was crazy.
I've always liked those two personally.
No, I love them both. I think Kristen Stewart is amazing.
Yeah, always,
and
and even twice.
Yeah, but then seeing him as Batman and as Bruce Wayne, I was just like, why? You'll never doubt it again. You'll go into it, you'll never doubt it again. Same with my mum as Batman. You never doubt it again.
I think this is a very dark. I think the soundtrack is also very grungy. Didn't you think? I thought the soundtrack was very not as cinematic as I expected it to be. It's very much like, sort of like early 90s grunge. I have a feeling a few sort of younger critics might go, oh, it's emo. I don't think it's emo. I think he might look emo, but it felt very grungy. It felt to me very sort of Nirvana, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
that
actually,
kind of sort of feel.
You can listen to the score now on Spotify and everything else if you want to have a listen before you see the film. Some people like to have a little listen, don't they? But we've obviously seen the film, so it kind of means different things to us in our brains. But I like the fact the score is quite insular. It feels like it's all in his head. I love that. It's almost like a ticking. It was like a ticking bomb in his head that unless he does the things that he needs to do, it's going to be more things in his brain, because he's obviously dealing with, it's his year 2. He's dealing with coming back to Gotham City. That's a Gotham City that's corrupt. He's been Batman for 2 years and he's still not quite sure if it doesn't even seem that he is doing the things he's trying to do good are actually working. It seems to be doing the complete opposite, or that these people that are in powerful positions aren't intimidated by him in the way that he wants people to be intimidated. So there's a real cool kind of synergy to that, in terms of that it's Batman being Batman, but also people aren't as maybe afraid of him as
they don't care about him.
Don't really care about him. It's there's all about the corruption and the power and the one percenters and all that kind of stuff. There's loads of stuff going on in this film. One thing I will say, it reminded me a lot of Blade Runner. That was the film that was the whole time, because it was the way that the neon the skyline was kind of neon, but then when you come down to ground level, it's wet, it's kind of dirty, it's disgusting, it's everything else. And I thought it reminds me so much of Blade Runner. And also, the story itself could be Blade Runner. It's almost like Deckard trying to solve about the android.
He came from.
It's kind of cool. There's a lot going on in the movie that you will enjoy.
And I think a sure proof that a film is interesting and has a lot going for it is that you've got so many themes you want to talk about when you're talking about it. And for me, like I know sometimes it might seem like he's probably thrown too much into the mix, but I actually really enjoyed picking all of those influences. I think I genuinely I think he's very clever filmmaker, and I really hope I think this is going to do well. I am keeping my fingers crossed that it's going to do well, that it's going to be a second one. And I genuinely enjoyed it a lot. I think Pattinson is fantastic. But more importantly, poor Dano is fucking brilliant.
Well, one thing I will say about people will obviously go into this thinking there's a lot of villains in this again. All the villains, but it's not the same as if you're thinking about the kind of Joel Schumacher movies or the old movies where the villains are the centerpiece. It's not about that. These people are real people in this world, not necessarily doing and saying and thinking the way that you think that they are going to be, or they are playing these characters the way that you think they're going to play and how they interact with each other. It's not how you would expect. They're all real people anyways. They're not just these big outlandish villains. It's not about that. These are just he just happened to pick the kind of the rogues gallery that will influence this particular story, and not in the way it's so surprising in the way that he utilizes the Riddler and Carmine Falcone and Maroni, who you don't actually see off screen, and Oswald Cobblepot and Selina Kyle and Alfred. It's really, really cool how all this stuff works,
comes together. And Jeffrey Wright
as Jim Gordon, fantastic.
Really good. Such a good bit of casting, it's very clever bit of casting, and for me, Jeffrey Wright could do no wrong at the moment. I just I love him and everything. So
everybody,
fantastic
the whole
movie. Probably could have been not sort of shorter than it is, but we'll ignore that for now. But other than that, I really liked it.
It's a strange kind of 50-50 in the sense that you're quite happy that a studio has made a big budget movie that's 3 hours long, but then you're also like, how did he convince them to let him release a 3-hour Batman movie? It's kind of strange, but that's the only kind of big flaw in it I found, was that there was almost too much going on towards the end, and that it could have shrunk down a little bit, and it could have been a little bit more precise in that bit, because the first 2 acts are exactly that. I just think it gets a little bit, not in a negative way, blockbustery, but there's stuff I thought, again, the ideas and the themes in it, you could have quite easily made two and a half hour films.
Yeah, it felt like they had a little bit of money left over, and the studio went, where are all the explosions? Let's put in some explosions in that.
Yeah.
And we didn't need that, honestly. There's no need for it. I think if a script can sort of stand on its own two legs, you don't need any more the pyrotechnics can be left aside. But
yeah, it also strangely feels like the smallest Batman movie there's ever been. Like, it's very the themes and the way it's told. And another thing that reminded me of Blade Runner was, obviously it's not a spoiler to say this, but there's a bit of voiceover in there. Bruce Wayne gives a bit of voiceover because he's kind of narrating what's going. He's kind of in his head kind of things. Reminded me of, obviously, the original version of Blade Runner, but they had the voiceover on. So I thought that was all really, really cool. But again, I just thought that it for all the precision of the first 2 acts, the third act just lost it a little bit. Just a little bit.
It's still very good, worth watching.
Very, very good. It's very, very
brilliantly acted.
We'll get a big kick out of this, because it is
let's do the scores.
Let's do the scores. Go on, Lindy.
Do you want me to start? This was almost a 5 for me. Almost. It lost, I'd say, half a star, but seeing as we don't do halves, it lost half a star in the last act. So I'm going to go for 4. And if I was doing half stars, I would go 4.5.
So would I. I would go 4.5 as well, but we don't do half stars. So, but it's not quite a 5-star, so I have to come down to a 4, as it were. But like the strongest 4 you can possibly fathom. It's not quite a 5-star masterpiece in the same way I thought The Dark Knight is. But again, they're very different movies. Let's not have this conversation about it's better than. They're all very, very different interpretations of this character, and we should thank our lucky stars that we have a character where people can come in and make different versions and still be ostensibly Batman.
Absolutely.
So cool. And I love that Matt Reeves has done this, and Nolan did his, and even Joel Schumacher made the films in the late 90s. That's what they wanted. Fair play. Didn't work, but fair play. But we always got Jim Carrey as the Riddler, which I love Jim Carrey as the Riddler, because he's just Jim Carrey, but it's not this Riddler. Anyway.
This Riddler is out of this world.
This Riddler is very different. So a strong 4 stars from both me and Linda. The Batman is in cinemas this Friday, March the 4th. As well as this video review, you'll be able to read my written review, which is going up pretty much at the same time as this.
And mine, yeah.
Go to this one, then go to that, or come to that. Read both, do both if you want to. And also, if you haven't already, go on to HeyUGuys. We have lots. I got to interview pretty much all the cast at the premiere last week and at the junket. Spoke to Colin Farrell, Matt Reeves, who seems to be a YouTube massive celebrity, seeing the amount of views that are getting on his videos. So fair play to him. Paul Dano as well, talking about the Riddler, Jeffrey Wright, Andy Serkis. They're all in there. So go and check them out as well. And if you don't already, make sure you like and subscribe to the HeyUGuys YouTube channel. Give us a little thumbs up on this video. My social media, Linda's social media, and all the HeyUGuys social media in the blurb below. We'll be back with another review very, very soon. But until then, take care. Enjoy Batman, and we'll see you for the next one. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey, you guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.
Hey!